like to thank all of you who came back, alumni who came back to Carteret for Simcha, Kavod HaTorah, and to all the talmidim, especially those who helped us set up so beautifully, to all the Rebbeim, everything that they do, to the talmidim. Years ago, I joined Yeshiva when we were what's now the 11th grade shiurim, plus the office area was the despises. Then there was a 12th Siyum HaShas in Yeshiva. It wasn't quite the same way it is now. Not quite as full of talmidim. But over the years, many talmidim have joined the yeshiva and become talmidim of the Rosh Yeshiva, Rosh Yeshiva, and Rebbeim. And the yeshiva appreciates each talmid, whether they were here for longer or shorter. And each of the talmidim, especially those who came back, it's quite clear that you appreciate the Rebbeim. That kesher continues through life and will guide you and us to be better people, to set goals, to reach our milestones, our goals, and learn from our Rebbeim continuously whether they make themselves available for other things or for learning. They always make themselves available. They make abuzz with many alumni, many talmidim, and for that we all have a Carteret for Rosh Yeshiva, Rosh Yeshiva. Now it's an honor to recognize and introduce the Rosh Yeshiva Shlita, who is making yet another 12th Siyum HaShas. I think he doesn't like to do numbers, but we're definitely we definitely hit the dozen range, and it's an honor and pleasure to introduce Rosh Yeshiva Shlita.
Oy ki oy rechami, Boshnoy zayim, ki oy rechami, Boshnoy zayim, Kai b'shalom. Ki oy rechami, Boshnoy zayim, ki oy rechami, Boshnoy zayim, Kai b'shalom.
Today, Zion Shevat is the Darchei of my grandfather, Eliezer ben Harav of Mayer. The Torah, the Siyum itself, hopefully the inspiration that people are inspired to their own goals and their own accomplishments should be a schus. Lili Nishmasai. Start with some Divrei Halacha, and then we'll talk Divrei Agudath. Yodua that the side of all Halacha, of all Torah really, is Shas Babli. You find the Rishayim arguing the Gainim. Achreinim sometimes even arguing the Rishayim. But Muslim, all Paiskin, all Kumzitz Yisrael, that you can't argue on Shas Babli. All halacha is built on the fact that Shas Babli is Seifayra. The question is why? What's the fundamental difference between the Rishayim arguing on the Gainim, or earlier Rishayim arguing on later Rishayim arguing on earlier Rishayim, or even Amirayim arguing on earlier Amirayim? What's the sign of the difference? Why is Shas Babli so fundamentally different? So the Rambam, in his Akdama, after he goes through the whole Messiah of Torah Shemal Peh, and he brings in any Bezdin, another Bezdin could argue with them, he says, we don't force people from one country to be naig like the people in a different country. And we don't say that a bezdin here is mechuyev to keep the gzeiros of a bezdin there. Same thing with the Gainim. If they taught a halacha and then a later bezdin comes and argues, they could argue. All this is after the Chasimas HaShas. I will call the Varim Shebetalmud Babli Chayovin Kol Beis Yisrael Olechas B'en V'Koifin Kol Ir V'Ir V'Chol Medina Medina Linon V'Chol HaMin Haga Yishenag V'Chachamim Shebetalmud V'Ligzar Gzeiraisam V'Olechas V'Takanaisam. But all the things that are in Talmud Babli, every country is mechuyev to be naig with all the minhagim, all the gzeirais, all the takanais that are mentioned in Talmud Babli. Since all the things in Talmud Babli, all place was maskim to, and the chachamim that were misakin or geyser or were naik or paskin the din are all the chachmei solar. Right with them, the Haim Shashamu, Akabala, Beikre Atayr Kula, and they were the ones who heard the Messiah. Ishmi Piyish Ad Maisha, Ishmi Piyish Until Maisha. So Rambam here really says three milas of Talmud Babli. He says number one is Eskimu, Kobes is Eskimu, Aleim Kol Yisrael. And he says that the Chachamim that taught them, Haim Kol Chachmei Yisrael Rubam, and also the Haim Sheshamu HaKabbalah B'Ikri HaTorah. So they were Klal Yisrael was masking. It's all the Chachamim were right with them, and they had the Messiah of Torah Shemal Peh. So the question is, number one, what do we need all of these three things for? And B'chlal, why are these a reason that you can't argue in the Talmud Babli? So I did hear a pshat, I saw a pshat, that really there are four things that the Rambam lists that are things that we can't argue on in Shas Babli. So one is Shegaz, Sheskinu, they made a takana, Ishegaz, they made a gzeira, Ishenhigu, or they made a minig, Ishedanu din, and they paskin the din. So we have a klal by takanas chachamim. Whenever the chachamim say something, you need it to be nispashit b'roi Yisrael. That most people keep the takana. If you make a takana, like we find by Shem and Akum, let's say, that was not nispashik Rabbi Yisrael. There's a Kumzitz list here. Right? It was not nispashik Rabbi Yisrael, so the takana is batal. So the Rambam is split up. That when they pass in a din, so that we need that it's Rav Chachma Yisrael, like Kol Chachma Yisrael, like Rubam, and that they have the Messiah. And when they misaken a takana or exera, so there we need a skimu Kol Yisrael. So somewhere. The problem with that is, number one, the spashek Rav Yisrael and the skimu Kol Yisrael doesn't sound like the same idea. The spashek Rav Yisrael means the Hamayinam. Everybody started keeping this takana, and if it became too hard for them, or it was too hard from the beginning, so then it was never nispashik. His skimu sounds like a whole different idea. That they said this is a good idea. Either Wolf Klal Yisrael or the Chachamim Klal Yisrael, whoever gets an opinion would be their haskama would matter. But whatever exactly how he could have a skimu, but doesn't sound b'chlal like the Indian of nispashik. The famous Rabbi Chanan in Kuchas the seforim, he learns that the Maila of the Hasimus HaShas was when you have Kol Chachma Yisrael together, they have the status of a bezdin gadol. That's what happened by the Maimod by Rebbe, by Rabbeinu HaKadosh, by Hasimus HaMishnah, and the same thing did not occur again until all the Chachamim got together under Rabbeinu Rav Ashi, and they had the status of a bezdin gadol, and therefore nobody could argue with the status of a bezdin, with a psak of a bezdin gadol. If some other time in history we'll get together all Chachmei Yisrael, then potentially we could have the same situation, that they'll be able to argue. But otherwise they can't argue because they have the din of a bezdin gadol. Again, so what do you need is skimu kol Yisrael? It sounds like a whole different idea. So there's a Rambam, really a Kesef Mishnah, in the beginning of Hilchos Mamrim, in Perek Beis. The Kesef Mishnah says something else. He's talking about why the Chasimus HaMishnah, why Amoraim don't argue with Tanaim, and why you can't argue in the Gemara. So he says by both of them there was a Kabbalah of Klal Yisrael. His lashon is V'efshalayim shemiyoyim Chasimus HaMishnah kimu v'kiblu shedoyres ha'achrayim le'yachlek al rishonim. By the Chasimus HaMishnah, the doyres ha'achrayim were makabel that they're not going to argue on the rishonim. V'chein also gam Chasimus HaTalmud. They did the same thing by Chasimus HaTalmud. Shemiyoyim shenechtam lo'initim rishus l'shum adam lachak alei. Klal Yisrael was makabel. Klal Yisrael is makabel that from the day that the Chasimus HaShas, whatever that is, they can't argue on previous days. So therefore, the Rambam holds, the Kesef Mishnah certainly holds, that an Amayra can't argue on a Tana, even not in a Mishnah, even in a Brisa. Like we find throughout Shas, the Gemara asks from Kashas, from Achrayim, from one Amayraim, from Tanaim that are not in the Mishnah. If you learn, let's say, like a Chanan, so then Stama Brisa was not said to Maimon Kol Yisrael. Stama Brisa was just reported over that it was said from Tanaim. But there's no, the Mishnayos maybe where everybody joined together. But Amoraim can't argue in Tanaim and a Brisa either. He's saying an entirely different Yisai to Kesef Mishnah. That Askam of all of Klal Yisrael, of all of Klal Yisrael is to kabel something, Kimu v'kibu aleim, that they can't argue on previous daires. The same thing, he says, the Chasimus HaShas, Kimu v'kiblu, there was a Kabbalah's Klal Yisrael. What the formality of it was, whether it was a Maimon in every community that when the Shas came to them, they said, this is it. Or because Kol Chachma Yisrael happened to be in the same place at that time, and therefore everybody who mattered was makabel this. Whatever the mechanism was, Lamaisa, Zaktik has the Mishnah, that there was a Kabbalah's Klal Yisrael. But it sounds like that's the only Tanai that matters. What does he need? That it was Kol Chachma Yisrael Rubam, and that they had the Messiah. L'chayra, the Kesef Mishnah is going to learn that that's the reason. Why was Klal Yisrael Mekabel that you can't argue in Shas Bavli? Because the Chasimus HaShas took place the Maimod Kochach Misol Rubam, and those Kochach Misol Rubam had the full Messiah of Torah Shabbat Peh. If there would have been Chachamim in different places that had pieces of the Messiah, they wouldn't have made such a Kabbalah. But it's everybody coming together. All the Chachmei Yisrael came to Maimon Tachas Ravina Rav Ashi, and we're chaysim the Shas. Memela Klal Yisrael B'chol Atar V'Atar we're Mekabel Aleihem Shas Bavli, and Memela you can't argue anymore on Shas Bavli. It's not based on the status of the Chachamim of the time. Rishayim maybe and Gainim it would be different. There's much time between the Rosh and us, between the Rosh and the Bahag. And yet the Rosh argues without any compunction on the Bahag, right? But if somebody today would argue on the Rosh, we would laugh him across the street. So it has nothing to do with time. It has nothing to do necessarily with the level, but it has to do with this Kabbalah that Klal Yisrael made. There's the Drashas Aran. Drashas Aran says he brings really a pasuk Achari Rav Lahatos. But he's learning a different shot in the pasuk. Acharam lahatas, he generally is referring to a bezdin, and you have a bezdin, and right with the bezdin is on one that is passed in some way. So with acharam lahatas, the Ran seems to be using it if you have kochach and Yisrael together, so then you can't argue on it. That's the acharam lahatas. Maybe that's even the more pashut shot in acharam lahatas. So the Ran, he's saying the same Yisrael, but maybe without the Kabbalah. If all of the Chachamim of the time get together and they pass in something, Memela, it's not something you can argue on, even without the din of Bezdin Agadol, that's what he's going to do. Okay. Just a couple of issues of Hakar Satoy. We'll get a short Divrei Agadol and then we'll get to the Siyum. One of the dangers of moving to a place where nobody lives, at least when we moved here, to me this was the biggest sakana, is that there's no outside pressure. You don't have anybody to live up to, you don't have anybody to compare yourself with. But Baruch Hashem, the Rabbi Mayer Shlit is a tremendous pressure on me to try to reach up to his knees and his idea of Kol HaTorah is not a daf and shas that he doesn't have klar and what to say on. And Baruch Hashem, I never felt like I could take it easy. And nobody's going to know. Obviously, the standard bearer in my life, one is a cousin, Rabbi Moshe Brown Shlit, once told me, you're never going to be bigger Talmud Chacham than your father. You're not brighter than him, and you're not a bigger master. So that's certainly the case, and any shemets of hasagas that I have are kulei from my father. I do want to mention one other Rebbe who, when we were bachim in Shifarakwe, and we had the example of Rabbi Kalish Shlit in the Shas every year. I met him a couple weeks ago. And he told me this made his 40th Siyum HaShas. So, always people that create hasagas of what it means, Hazar, what it means to know. And Be'ez Hashem, it should be that nobody thinks, okay, we got there already. No such happiness. Somebody asked a kasha, we had a breakfast in Lawrence a couple weeks ago. Somebody asked me a kasha. He asked me, why is the nusach that we say when we finish a chumash, chazak, chazak, v'nischazei, is different than the nusach we say by a siyum. A whole different idea. By a siyum we say, hadun alav, hadun chalam, we're going to come back to you, you're going to come back to us. And we finish a chumash, we say, chazak, chazak, v'nischazek, strengthen ourselves. So that lashon is taken in the first parak of Yeshua. The Rebbe says to the Yeshua in a few different lashonos that he should be nischazek. Gemara says abuzz chizek. The Gemara in brachas. So that we understand that lashon. That lashon, you finish chumash, you finish a chumash. So yeah, you could say. Finish a chumash, you finish Torah Shebiksav. So that's where that lashon comes from. What's the lashon of Hadron Allah, Hadrachalon? What's that lashon? So I told him at the time, I think, because since Torah Shabbat passed to be Baal Peh, and therefore the Iker is Chazara. So therefore we talk about Chazara by the Siyum. Chizuk is not enough. Chizuk is you want to be Mekayim, you want to know it, fine. But Torah Shabbat Peh is the whole key to Torah Shabbat Peh is Chazara. But I was thinking afterwards, I had a different question. Once he pointed out the two different lashonos, I had a different problem. In the Torah Shabbat Peh, by Hadron Allah, Hadrachalon, we're talking to the Torah. What's that? What is that exactly? We're going to return to you, you're going to return to us. Like we're having a conversation. We're partying, we're saying goodbye to the Torah. Don't worry, we're going to come back, you'll visit us. What's the pshat that we're talking to the Torah Shabbat? We're talking to the Masechta that we just did. There's a Gemara in Yevamos. I think Rabbi Meir Shlit just did it. Maybe they're about to do it. The Gemara says, "Kamayim panim al panim, kein lei ba'adam la'adam." Like when a person looks at in the water, he sees his reflection. So too the lei ba'adam la'adam. The Gemara is talking about the people that are pasul le'edus, pasul to be made, and Isha's pasul. But the Gemara says the second shot, Rabbi Yehuda says, and it's going to different Torah. And Rashi says, "Kafi the amount of amelus that a person puts into the Divrei Torah, the Torah responds to it. Kemayim ponim al ponim, king lei ba'adam la'adam." A person who learns Torah Shabbat Peh, who learns a Masechta, he develops a relationship with that Masechta. It becomes part of him, he becomes part of the Masechta. It's a different Masechta, it's a different Yevamos after a Bachar learns Yevamos. And you're a different person after you learn Yevamos. Person learns a Masechta, he becomes part, his shtiklach Torah, his ha'aris, become part of the Masechta, and he becomes different, he becomes a different person because he absorbed that Masechta. Hadron aloch v'adrachalon. We developed a relationship with you. It's not cold. It's not just a limud. But we will return to you. We're talking to the Torah. This is something we lived with for the last kufa. We learned this Masechta together. You, the Masechta, and me. We learned together. Hadron aloch v'adrachalon. We're coming together. We're going to come back together. We're not forsaking this relationship. You develop a relationship with your Torah. As Hashem, we should all develop a relationship with Taka, with Kol HaTorah Kula. Bavli, Taka Yerushalmi, Safra, Sefri, all of Torah Shabbat Peh, Dalach Chalkei Shulchan Aruch. As Hashem, all of us, be Zaycha, to learn, to know, to chazer, to learn again, to know it differently the second time and the 10th time, and the 101st time and the 202nd time. Be'ez Hashem, we should all be zeicha, taka together, to know Kol HaTorah Kula. Anybody who learns halachas every day, he's muftach, that'll be a ben olam haba, shenem halichais olam loy, I'll take your halichais, ela halachais, halachais olam loy. Hadron alach tinaikis, the slikal of a sectanid, b'chol hashas. Hadron alach, shas bavli, v'adrachalon, daiton alach, shas bavli, v'daitochalon, loy nisnash minach, shas bavli, loy nisnash minach, loy b'amadei, loy b'amadasi. Hadin olav shas bavli v'adrachalon, daiden olav shas bavli v'daitachalon, lo nisnashim inav shas bavli v'lisnashim inon, leibam adeim leibam adosi. Hadin olav shas bavli v'adrachalon, daiden olav shas bavli v'daitachalon, lo nisnashim inav shas bavli v'lisnashim inon, leibam adeim leibam adosi. Yiratzim v'fonech adein Eloheinu levi seinu shetei k'tor haskun l'seinu v'elam hazeh seimonu l'elam haba. Chadiner bar papa, Rami bar papa, Nachbar bar papa, Achai bar papa, Abba Mari bar papa, Rafam bar papa, Rachish bar papa, Surka bar papa, Adar bar papa, Daru bar papa. Harem na'adein Eloheinu es divrei Yisrael, Rosko, b'finu, b'fiyai samcha beis Yisrael, v'niyeh kulanu, anachnu, v'tzetzoinu. V'tzetzoi amcha beis Yisrael, kulanu yoidei shemecha, v'loidei seresecha, me'oivei techakmeni, v'tzetzecha, gilailu mili. Ihili v'samen l'kukecha l'man l'yevaish l'oilam l'yashkach l'kudecha gigam t'yisoni baruch atah adonai lamdeni chukecha amen 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 sela v'ed. Moidim anaknu v'orach adonai l'yenu v'leviseinu shesem t'chalkeinu m'yeshiv v'sam edrish l'yesem t'chalkeinu m'yeshiv kronos. She'anu mashkimim ei mashkimim. Anu mashkimun d'rei soiru ei mashkimun d'var m'teilu. Anu amelum ei mamelum anu amelum m'kabim socha ei mamelum einu m'kabim socha. Anu rotzim ein rotzim, anu rotzim l'chayel l'mabov, ein rotzim l'vershachas, shenemar, v'ata l'yim toidim l'vershachas. Anshei damu mumimra l'yachzi me'em ani avtach Yi rotzim l'fonech adinai l'yayik shem shazam tani l'sayim shas bavli. Kein ta'azreini l'askim l'setlus l'sor ma'cheimu l'sayimum l'omedu l'lamim l'ishmar l'askus l'kayim es kol divrei samum deres Rav Yaakov. Uskuz kol atanoim v'ameroim v'savidek ha'chomim yamim li'ulizari. Shalei Samush HaTorah mibi umibi zari v'zerazari aroilo. This is kai bi v'salach l'atan chaysach. B'shach b'chav tishmar alecha v'akisai sisi checha. V'yir v'yomecha v'yasivu l'chashneis chayim v'yircham b'minu b'smailai shev'chavai. Adonai z'amai tein Adonai barech asamai v'ashaloi. Yiskadesh, Shemei Ramo. Amen. Alumni, du hast du es Gadol, Happy Messiah, Lasogli Chai Homo, B'nei Carteret Yushlei, Ushachlei, Koli B'Gavei, Umekar B'Chonu Nukro Mi'aro, Lasov B'Chonu D'Shmaya Azrei, V'yamlich B'Shibrik B'Malchus V'Yikarei, V'Chai Choynu V'Yamlich Choynu V'Yidu B'Beis Yisrael, V'Agolo V'Zman Karev V'Yimru Amen. Amen. Yisbarach v'yishtabach v'yispar v'yisaymam v'yisnasei v'yisador v'yisalev v'yisalol shmei v'kodsha b'richu v'eila minko b'chosel v'al rabonon v'al talmidei oy v'al kol talmidei samidei oy v'al kol man di'oskim b'leiraisa di'v'yasrodei m'di'v'chol asar v'asar Yeloheinu l'chayin shlomer rabba china v'chis v'rachamim v'chayin arichin v'zayne revichin v'ganim in kavadam avoyni v'shmaya v'imru amein Yehi shlomer rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amein Oiseh shalom in Maimod of Kavod shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amein
Amen. Oy si besi hasato oilo ki to kotse oilo We sing it to mazel to sing it to get me on your left on away. Sing it to mazel to sing it to get me on your left on away. Sing it to mazel to sing it to get me on your left on away. Sing it to mazel to sing it to get me on your left on away.
see parties that we're seeing now, we say Ashreichem. First and foremost, Rav Azriel Shlit, my shutta, my friend for 35 years plus, I think. Ashrecha. Not just Ashrecha, if you're Zocha to the Yeshiva HaShas many, many times, but I'm probably from the few here that probably half dozen people that know Rabbi Brown for so long, and I can tell you that from the first time I met Rabbi Brown, Rabbi Azriel, this was always his plan. This was always his goal. This was always what he spoke about. This was always what he lived for. To chazer, to learn up, to chazer, to know, to inspire others. This is what he always, from again, there are people here that know before that, but as far as I remember, this is always something that he spoke about. Ashrecha, that you are continuously able to be mekayim what you recognize at a young age was your tafkid. You recognize at a young age was something that you had a tremendous she'ifa for. Ashrecha, that you're able to mekayim that. Ashreichem, the people that were involved in this. Mentioned obviously Rabbi Azriel. We talk about the Brown family. Talk about Rebbe Brown, the children, the grandchildren. All are a part of the Mechazik. Azriel in his Avodah Kodesh, his Rabbeim, obviously my Rebbe, his father, his parents, all the mishpacha, tremendous schus. And I know that you all recognize it. A tremendous schus to have this, to have the siyum, all the schuschem, schus your mesiras nefesh, schus your recognition of the chashivas of what your father, son, grandfather, husband are involved with all the time. Ashreichem. And as far as the yeshiva, and including that, are all the supporters of the yeshiva. All the supporters of Yeshiva Ashreichem, that you have the schus, you have a chelek. In this Maimod, you have a chelek in all of the learning, Rabbi Azriel would say it himself, I'm sure, chelek in all of the learning that goes on here, in the Yeshiva, specifically Rabbi Azriel's learning, but the learning of all the Bachrim, of everybody in Yeshiva, Ashreichem, that you have the schus, to be mechazik, such a person in the Rebbe. And finally, Ashreichem, the talmidim of the yeshiva. I want to speak a little bit about it. Constantly, another theme that Rabbi Azriel and I had talked about many, many times, whenever we were talking, was the concept of she'ifa, the concept of Yirid Sederis, the concept of what that means, and how if people have the right role models, people have the right, are given the right direction, and recognize what they can accomplish, they can go much further. I remember Rabbi Azriel saying, I think Rabbi Azriel was wrong about that. I remember him saying many times that who doesn't mean this just because, so this person, maybe just limited in what they saw, if they would recognize what they, maybe you read that all it means is that they didn't see the people who do accomplish that. There's more to read Sadaris than that, but certainly this is a big chelaka. Ashreichem, the talmidim of the yeshiva. This that you see in front of you today is something that's going to be etched in your souls forever. It's something that you will always remember. It's something that will always make a difference to you. It'll make a difference to you. It'll make a difference to your family. It'll make a difference to your children. It'll make a difference to everyone you meet. Because you know it's shy for someone to finish us. We know what someone finished us many, many times. Actually made that even though there was a number, I think there was a number of the invitations, a number over there. I can tell you that that's probably only from the when we started counting from the beginning to the end. But every Masechta, many Masechtas, I know specific Masechtas that the number is probably double or triple that. Maybe this is only from the combination of everything together, but probably much more than that. But everybody here is walking away going, why are you here? You're here because someone made 12th Siyum HaShas 12 times. So what does that do when you sit down and learn? What does that do when you open up the Masechta and you say, okay, I'm going to learn 3 blocks, 4 blocks, 5 blocks, 20 blocks, 30 blocks? So you're going to say, maybe I should try to finish the Masechta. You know, somebody finished all of the Masechtas many, many times. Ashrei them. And many of you of the Baruch Yeshiva recognize that already. But the more that we're mechazik such a muscle, the more that we're mechazik such an idea, the more it becomes a reality to us. And the more we recognize that we too can go much further than we ever thought. And that is a fulfillment of the tafkid that Rabbi Azriel recognized from his young, from when he was, it must have been when he was younger. He was 16 then. No, he was 16. Very old. 16. Something like that. Figure math. He was a young 15. Young kid, but he recognized that. That's the tough kid. That's what. Rabbi Azriel, besides many other things, but what this Siyum is recognizing, that's what Rabbi Azriel stands for. Rabbi Azriel stands for the Yeshiva. That's what the Yeshiva of Gedola of Carteret, the Sifta stands for. We should all take it in the more and more from this Maimon to recognize that we too can go much further than we thought. We too can accomplish tremendous amounts. And with that, it will be a kiyum, an ultimate kiyum of the tafkid of the Siyum. We're going to call upon Murray Rebbe, Rabbi Brown Shlit, say
every time there comes a milestone, the development of a person, he comes from one shlab to another one. It's a new recognition, it's a new realization of the hakaras hatayv that we have to have for the ones that made it possible. Therefore, I was just absolutely delighted when Rabbi Bender came to participate in the Siyum, who laid the groundwork for the she'ifas, for the learning, for everything that took place when Rav Azriel was a lad, much less than bar mitzvah. So therefore, to express the hakaras hatayv to Rabbi Bender for establishing the climate, the avirah of what it means, the chashivas of what learning is about. Every time when it comes to such a milestone, I have to reawaken the feelings of hakaras hatayv that I have to Rabbi Bender. I was thinking of a minhag that I have every time that I come to the 12th Siyum HaShas of a single person. I realized that I don't have an established minhag. I don't think I was ever at a Siyum HaShas. Maybe once. I'm a person that made the 12th, I think it's the 12th one. But it doesn't come in a vacuum. Give you an example, I kind of feel very, nobody will believe me anyway because klum I've made up and know. I made it a point even when my children, when they would have the Sheva brachas, or when I'd have to speak for an upruf, I don't know how they felt about it, but I don't think I said one nice word about them. Because what's the point? Nobody believes you anyway.
First, secondly, you're like, hey, also, who's going to believe it? You can't even see straight. How can a person be objective about his own children? So even at a Shevat brachas, I don't think I said a single nice word about any of my kids. But one thing I can tell you about something that happened, it was way before Bar Mitzvah. And Rav Azriel, at that time, I don't even know if he was learning Gemara. Maybe he was learning Gemara in Yeshiva Darchei. Maybe he was after the 5th grade. But he certainly was learning Mishnayos. We went on a trip, and he was learning Mishnayos the whole time. And I said, I asked him, don't you get a headache when you're in the car? So he says, I do get a headache. But so what? You don't think it's kedai to have a headache? To be able to amass more and more mishnayos? If you have a headache, you get over it. But it's kedai to have the headache. What that? It's kedai that's more important. It's more kedai to go and waste an hour in the car. So whatever hasagi that he had, he continued with these hasagis. And Baruch Hashem, we've come to a madrega where not only learning, but all the Rosh Yeshivas that you see here, it's a different type of Torah because it's Torah shalamadati biyaf. When you're a bacher and you're learning, you're a man maybe that's learning, and you don't have the pressures of having a maisid. You can ask Rabbi Bender what it means to wake up in the morning. Anybody who runs a maisid, somebody once told me that it's not possible. The Rosh Yeshiva of the Yeshiva that I'm affiliated with says it's impossible for a person that runs a maisid that he should be thin. Because the nervousness, the pressure, he can't do it. And that's what means when a person's able to be holding and learning that way. The Torah shalamadati biyaf is a whole different learning. It's under the pressure. It's not where everything is conducive that brings it about. It's all the pressure and all the abuzz nefesh. Every time you wake up in the morning and you realize that by 12 o'clock you have to come up with $100,000 and you don't have no idea of where it's going to come from. And you know that your medicine cabinet has to be full of all kinds of medicines that will help you get through it. And you're still a orangutan and learning, that's already a zach. And to be able to make the siyum under those conditions, a different level of what really what it's all about. We just said, and that goes, and it tells us how important it is under all these conditions for the person to be a orangutan in learning. When you walk and you learn, the Torah will protect you. The Torah leads you. The Torah directs you your whole course of life. After 120 years, when a person is no longer around, it also serves to protect him. The Torah is also and when you get up for Tchias HaMesim, he's a Sichecha. And the Rosh Hashanah Teres Kayanim tells us, what does it mean? If a person's learning, for example, the sugya of Yeshua Abidas and the Machlekes Abaye and Rafa, that's where he's holding. Maybe he's holding, if the people are learning, people I think learning Yavanis, they're holding in Rebbe Kiveger's Kasha, why they need a pasuk for Saras Torah. And you're working on it. And somehow a person, goes to Alama after, Bobby should right in the middle of the sugya. You wake up, and you're right in the middle of that sugya. You're holding in the middle of Yeshua Bidas. You wake up with the machshavas of Yeshua Bidas. You want to know what the gedarim of Zikah are. You wake up, the next life, you wake up with all the hasagas in your face that we're thinking about that. And as long as you're the orangutan is there, the orangutan is there, that means that it's there, permeates every fiber of a person's being. That no matter what matzah that he's in this world or the next world, he'll be able to have the schus HaTorah. This schus HaTorah will be making. The schus HaTorah will formulate who he is. And the impact of that schus HaTorah will be everlasting for him. We should continue to see simchas by each other. The yeshiva should go mila mila. All of you should continue to have all the aspirations and all the ambitions to be able to excel in all the areas of Torah. And the yeshiva should go mila mila. And everyone should have nachas from each other. We should be able to participate in all kinds of simchas in the future. Thank you.
I got my introduction, everybody just spoke about me and my wife and everything else. It was wonderful. Come on, smile a little bit, everybody said. Anyways, when the Rosh Yeshiva called me, I should come speak. I said right away, yes, correct. But I said, I can't write checks. I don't know anybody tries to speak checks. At least when you come, Hanhala. But first, before I begin, I want to say that Rabbi Moshe Brown is here. Going on club with Rabbi Moshe Brown. In my life, I told him, I have never met a person more Abbas Atera than him. And Harav Azriel. But it's really like, I feel like Mamish. I claim to mention over here, just a few words. I want to greet, first of all, two Dashim Tzedkanias. Reb Tzemleya Trank was here. Reb Davis Neshama, how was over the Yeshiva? Reb Tzemleya Trank, and of course, Reb Tzemleya Brown. I was Shreiner for nearly 40 years for Rockaway. We came to the block, it was only us. Remember Rabbi Yisrael? I was once walking with my talus in the street. I'm not carrying the air. I was walking with my talus in the street, and one of the people on the block said to me, "You're also one of those people." Like, I was carrying my talus on my shoulder, and said, I was walking with it. One of those people, Baruch Hashem, look what's on Torah supreme. Having the Browns in our block all the years, something very special. But I say to Reb Frank, particularly now, Reb David was my inspiration in Mir Yeshiva going back over 50 years ago. It was everyone's inspiration. But to be at a simcha like this, you know, I'm saying to the Rabbi Yeshiva, Shalachem, is the two Rebbitzins over here who gave us Hanhala so much for Hashem. Rabbi Azriel is Rebbitzin, is Shviga, and of course Rebbitzin Brown. So you can't forget that for a minute. Without the Rebbitzin, the coming you have nothing. I'll tell you a very fast story, but I don't even go for the tangent before I begin. My mother, Allah Shalom, when they came to America in 1939, my mother got it immediately. She came Erev Yom Kippur to Williamsburg. And Mitzvah Yom Kippur, Rebbitzin Kaplan, the founder of Beis Yaakov, called up my mother and said, I'm starting Beis Yaakov after Sukkot. My mother didn't know any English, which wasn't a problem. She told me that all the girls, even though they weren't from, most of them weren't from, they knew Yiddish, so it wasn't much of an issue. But you're going to be the teacher. She became a teacher. Rabbi Rebbe said, Tzadik U'Bracha. Moshe Brown knows this. Called my father. And gave him Mishdel. He had the job that David Krunglis later on took in 1947. And he gave the highest share under a Biderman. And my father was enjoying it very much because they were there 2 years. They were newlyweds. They got married shortly before the war in Europe. And they had to make a decision. Who comes where? So they went to speak to Shlomo Haim Tzaddik, the Rosh Yeshiva of Torah. And they asked them what they should do. They expected the answer to be, of course, that my mother should move to Baltimore. And his answer was, Reb David, my father, you have to come to New York. The job she has, the teaching the women of Klal Yisrael, is more important. Because they are going to be the future of Torah in America as the women left in the country. You come here today, I say to the Rebbe, I just mentioned, it's all to get credit. The Gemara says, we're in the famous Gemara, why are the children of the Chacham not to be the Chacham? The Gemara says that. The Gemara says, Shalayim with the Torah of Yerushalayim. And you come to the Simcha, and you have Rabbi Moshe Brown and Rav Azriel Brown. Moshe Brown's father, I'll never forget the Levaya of Moshe Brown's father in Philadelphia. Moshe Brown said it was Hanukkah, he can't speak. He just said that his father finished Shas so many times, and he finished Rishalmi so many times. So what do you see over there? I think the answer is very pashut, Rabbi said. He is like Haktana. The answer is very, very pashut. If you think it's going to come to you because your father is a Talmid Chacham, Gemara is saying it's not going to happen. Even if you learn. But if you do it through a smother of the Torah, it'll go on for 10 generations. Azriel Brown came to elementary school in Yeshiva. And his mother was big at that time already, Baruch Hashem. In fact, Mishnayos and Gemara. So I want to start with a story, Rabbi said. I told him a story when I have to speak for women sometimes, teachers. I told him this story. Azriel knows the story, but because he's the kids. When he wrote his first sefer, he brought me the sefer inscribed to me. He said, Azriel, you got to be kidding. 8th grade. Then he left, and come on, it nothing to do with me learning. So Azriel said to me, I want you to know, I brought the sefer to my pre-1A motor in Baltimore. I went to visit her, I handed her the sefer, and I inscribed it to her, because she taught me alphabets. You had to meet this when I Rebbe, everybody said, you had to meet this. Made a trip to Baltimore. I told her the story in Baltimore. Baltimore they have it once a year, they have, they finish 12 o'clock, learning all the schools, boys and girls. They come together to get chizuk and teaching. I had this first one year being the guest speaker. So I spoke, there were 250 Morris in the room, that I spoke 4 times. One of them was to the Morris. And I said to them, this story, I forgot her name, what's the lady's name, the teacher? Huh? Marigel was the back, quiet, elderly lady. That was about 10 years ago. She stands up, it's me! It's me, he brought me the sefer. So the nachas ruach she had. That's the readers that Azriel has. That's where you zoich, the gadolus. It goes together, Rabbi said. You heard? She says to me, I'm not going to bring you the sefer, I brought it to my pre-1A motor. If you worked at a smother, I lived next door to the Browns for many years, now I live across the street. All the children had to see the smother of their father. And Azriel's smother can hurt. So it goes over generation to generation. Beginning of Parashat Shema, stayed on Azariah, Rabbi said. Moshe Rabbeinu does not want to go, he doesn't want to go visit, he doesn't go to Paris, Mishum Leifim. 7 days is the Vikuach. And Kadosh Baruch with Moshe Rabbeinu, 7 days, Givaldig Vikuach, if you could say that. He said, not with 12 Shilshem, actually, with 7 days, until finally, Vayichar Af Hashem Moshe. Because it's angry at him, he says, you're going to go, and Aaron will speak for you. One of the questions he asked, Rashi takes it up on the pasuk itself. Yoitzi is Meishomer describes like Rashi. Be'ezah schus. What schus does Klal Yisrael have? What schus that they're going to get out of Mitzrayim? What schus do they have? What schus? 210 years in Mitzrayim, they didn't change their names, their clothing, their language. They spoke like the Torah. They didn't change at all. What schus? Imagine. There's a photograph of Shmuel Kamenetsky's wedding that's going around right now. I saw the picture many years ago. There's a photograph. My father's standing next to Shmuel Kamenetsky. Rabbi Eli Cohen is standing, most interesting, but a chasna is standing there. A lot of chasna eating over there, and their ties were like this, Rabbi said, like this. This wide. If I walked in with that tie here, you'd carry me out. You shouldn't have done. Because 7th Avenue says that's the tie they wore in those days. Today you wear such a time as Tama. Whatever you wear, you wear. They're Mitzrayim, don't change anything because of the people. They spoke when they spoke. Those are all schusim lach. They're very good schusim, but they go out of Mitzrayim. Mem Teshari to be needed. Yimaldik schus. Yes, it's Makadosh Baruch Hu. Havnus l'kim Harav Azriel. You got to the Kabbalah the Torah. That's a schus. The Kabbalah the Torah. That's the great schus. I says Moshe Brown asked the question. He knew about all those schusim, but he needs something overriding. He's sitting in Yeshiva with the Bethlehem, both Rosh Yeshiva. It's all about Torah. It's all about Torah, more Torah, bid the Torah, write the Torah. That's the schus that will carry us forward, Rabbi said, carry everybody forward. That's like Moshe Rabbeinu, that's the kunz. And anybody can make it, Rabbi said. There's a Tanchum, beginning of Dvarim. I don't be chayshit me up. The Tanchum, once it came out to that page. The Tanchum, beginning of Dvarim, that says the following. The Eila Dvarim, it's a short, one line. The Churri of the Katz. These are the words that Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to Klal Yisrael. Like, this is the Musa Shemusa, no Musa Shemusa. He aligns them for all the years. The midbar, the pasuk itself, covers it up a little bit. Rashi explains all the words over there. With the Zav is going on about the Egel, etc. These are. But he's going to give Musa Shemusa. The whole half of Chumash Gemara, little bit, half come out, all of it. Is the Musa Shemusa to Klal Yisrael. What's for Eila Hadvarim? Can you start? He said, Eila, these are the words. What did you say? My daughter, my Eimer. What's Eila Advarim? The Tanchuma, Hakadosh Baruch Hu is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, you were the one that says, Lo yish dvarim anaychi. The same, going back to the parsha we just spoke about before. Lo yish dvarim anaychi. I'm not a man of words, I can't talk. You had a problem with his speech. Really? Really? He said, really? And this is the shmuz you didn't call to the Hakadosh Baruch Hu? Lo yish dvarim zak the Tanchuma, eila dvarim. Look what you can become. Look what you can become. You said you can't speak, and now look, this Tanchuma said it. Man, I can't say that. Beilad learn. You're in a Makkah Torah with your baby Torah. Met a few of them now over here. You can become giants. Everybody. Every single person in Klal Yisrael. And every single Bach here can grow having, as a Muslim, have someone who finished Shas, the word 12 is like embarrassing to you. 12 times finished Shas. And talk about the Iyun, you talk about, not talking about Stam, Daf Yaimi. Afraid to say this out loud. Rabbi Shmuel Biderman once said to us, he says, Daf Yaimi. Now they're Daf Yaimi places. Daf Yaimi. I told you, what does you lost? I'm afraid to say it over again. I just said it over. I'm in trouble. Be careful, all right? Don't tell Daf Yaimi people. I told you, what does you lost? You have a person here that 12 times went through Shas, and you couldn't Torah from him. You know what that means? Everybody's saying. You know what that means? Yeshiva Gedola. Pasuk says at the end of the Dvarim, after the Teicha, at the end of the Dvarim, after the Teicha, a few psukim, because Moshe Brown speaks the Rechizuk in the Klal Yisrael. One of the psukim says at the third or fourth pasuk, "V'nasar Hashem lachem leiv ladas v'ayim lirois was nayim l'shmoya ad hayom hazeh." Rebbe couldn't give you the leiv ladas, the eyes, the ears. You didn't have till today. In fact, Rashi, what's this all about? Rashi come out all over is coming based on Babel, Yerushalmi, the Sefta, right? Everything Torah is Kainim, Safra, Safri. And here he says, Shamati, Rashi says, Shamati. It's either his own Sfaro or Shamati. He heard from someone that I say was the day that Parsh Vayelech says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Torah to Shevet Levi, Vayitna El HaKainim, B'nai Levi. He gave the Torah to him. So Shemata Rashi, I heard that Gantz Klal Yisrael came to Moshe Rabbeinu. What are you doing? Madua to Mashta that he said, why are you giving the control of the Torah to your Shevet? You're a lady Shevet, you're Moshe Rabbeinu, and you give me the Torah only to them. They didn't chap. You give me the Torah to them. We also want the Torah. Well, what are you doing, Moshe Rabbeinu? You give me the Shevet lady. We also want the Torah. That make Lahavdil, the Kerech. Kerech is demanding. He wants the rights. And then Moshe got very upset. And you know what she says? Simach Moshe got excited. And Klal Yisrael came cross. The tightest Moshe Rabbeinu. Why are you giving the Torah to Shevet Levi? Simple, you know why? Now I see, because you want the Torah. Now I see that it's, all of it was worth it. It's great. Of course, he explains that the Torah is for all of you. Just gave it to them. I saw it as the custody to take care of it. Moshe Rabbeinu got excited. He saw Klal Yisrael wants the Torah. It's exciting, Rabbi said, the Torah that's flourishing all over today. And to see Carteret, New Jersey, to see this Torah flourishing over here, to me personally, it's exciting. I was here once before in the very beginning. You walk in and you see the Ruach of Hashem. The Avira is so wonderful. The opportunity to have to learn about Hashem, to have such a person, as this co-Rosh Yeshiva, teaching the Torah, it's very, very special. And I want to just one thing at the end I want to send. Make sure he's touched on it at the end. He said this over at David Trank's Levaya. It was his own Torah. I said it over his Levaya when I spoke to David Trank's Levaya. I said it over, and I think it's so appropriate now. We come here to his son-in-law Simcha. Brother Chantel Maruchim. Yes, the Kasha. Everybody knows the famous Chazal, Parsh Vayigash. Ves Yehuda Sholach Lefanav Laheira Gaishna. Yaakov Vino needs a besmedrash. There are two pshat. The question of pshat is just to set up a place to learn. And Rashi means the medrash that said he sent Yehuda Lefanav Laheira Gaishna. Rashi says to make a base Talmud, a place to learn. Shemisham Teitzei Hara. From there, Hara will come out. Any Torah will come out. He sent Yehuda. The effect of David Trank. Remember when he said it over? The effect of David Trank. I think effect. Yehuda. What did he suffer? He suffered his Torah. He suffered his Torah. His own supports. He suffered his Torah. Levi. They taught people, why do Yehuda's Malchus? Why is Yehuda being sent to set up a yeshiva over there? Why him? David Trenke Emfit, this is the covered, I say this covered was real, Moshe Brown touched on it. Yeah, whatever Moshe said about the scariness of a payroll, the money you need, it just never ends, Rabbi said, never ends. When you have, you need someone to run a yeshiva, to found yeshiva, to build a yeshiva, you have to have achrayus. You feel responsibility for every single talmid, you feel responsibility to pay the English teachers. You feel responsibility. Everyone, when Yaakov says to Ruvain, no way in the world, I'm not sending Binyamin. Yosef demands Binyamin should come down to Mitzrayim. Chazal say that every single Shevat of the Shvatim came and argued with Yaakov. Reuven had said the Shnei Bnei Thomas, etc. We say, it says over there, but all of them came. Yaakov heard Yehuda. He heard Yehuda. Yehuda said the magic words, Anayichi ervenu yadi tvachenu. I am taking achrayus. When he heard that, I'm taking achrayus, I can send him now. The Baal achrayus can buy in a yeshiva. Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Azriel Simcha, the achrayus of running yeshiva is not pashut. And you have it here. So you have everything you need together. You have the midas benching before, and you have the achrayus, and most of all, you have the Torah to learn from. Shbach should bench him. You should come many more times. And most of you, Hashem, and all of you should learn from your wonderful Rebbeim. You went to Mashgiach before, and you have a wonderful staff that should be benched. And the Torah should keep on flourishing. Many happy, healthy years. After Yeshiva, Rabbi Yaakov Mayer Shlit.
I just want to thank Rabbi Bender for coming, my parents, all the alumni who came from far and near. Alumni came from Baltimore, from all sorts of places, and I'm even surprised at myself how the simcha I was overseeing so many former talmidim, present talmidim that were formerly in the yeshiva. And also I would like to thank all the bachurim that helped set up, and the frat, of course. Our Chashiv Executive Director, Rabbi Yaakov T. Biderman. It was his idea in the first place to have the alumni come back and to make a Maimod for alumni in particular. And he stepped up to the plate in many ways. Some are obvious to everybody, most of them are not obvious to everybody. But Be'ez Hashem, the Rebbe should give him the kayak to continue and to be Yosef B'Tzar Yitzig Ramun and to serve as the backbone of the yeshiva. Yeshiva.
It's called the Galgalach Chazer. It goes nowhere, it's wasted. There's one thing that gets full and lasts forever. Shlem HaMelech Zov Koheles. Oisohiv Dover HaKol Nishma. Es Elohim Yidol. Maybe that's mitzvahs of Shemo. By every class, tomorrow, person learns every chesed, every kapitel telem. Every mitzvah is getting fuller and fuller. It's gonna last forever. We have to chabarai. We call on the cholim alchim hayah. Call on the cholim alchim hayah. We did hayah. We did no maleh. We did hayah. We did no maleh. Oh, yeah. It's